Is the console market dying? This is a huge question that's going into the gaming industry. There's a lot of people smarter than me that's bringing up if it is or if it's not. But let's get straight into the video. What's going on, you guys? Gaming Addict here. Coming at you with another video. Today, it's going to be a very interesting conversation. For a while now, since 2014, I've been on this platform. I've been talking about, what the gaming industry means to me, what I appreciate from the gaming industry. And I feel that people that say that console gaming is dying, they're not wrong. But I do feel like there's a lot of aspects to console gaming that aren't really looked at like they used to be. People want to hyper focus on exclusives or marketing deals, on whether or not this is making console gaming dead. And I think there's a lot more variables than just that. I do think those are it. Look, in my opinion, a very good exclusive is always going to sell a platform. It's always going to sell a console. Look at Halo 3, Gears of War, Uncharted, The Last of Us. There's always going to be those games that grab the masses. Always. Never matters. I feel like gaming as a whole has gotten, kind of really in a bad place. You look at, what we see in terms of broken games, what we see in terms of, these companies trying to nickel and dime you. Now it's no longer about just making good games that make money. Now we got to make games that generate money. And it's just, I feel like a lot of the passion for the gaming industry is gone. I feel like people are no longer just trying to, make something that they wanted to play when they were younger, or, make something that their kids would want to play. I don't know. I understand corporate's going to corporate, and I understand they're going to grab as much of the industry as possible, and they're going to generate as much of the industry as possible. But I do feel like a lot of these issues is self-inflicted, especially the console industry, in terms of what these platforms do. You look at it, okay, back on the 360 days, it was a little bit starting, but especially the Xbox One days, people talk about a massive library and stuff. That's not the reason people are staying on past-gen platforms. People are staying on past-gen platforms because there's just simply no reason to go over it. If you go back and you look at games that are actually popular, a lot of them are on last-gen. Fortnite, Minecraft, Call of Duty. It's gotten to the point where people are losing their mind because Battlefield is current-gen only. Now, did this happen last gen? Yes. There was a lot of the time where, you didn't see these games go over for a while, But I will say this is the first generation that live service has captivated. Live service has jumped on the trends. Live service has been catapulted to the tops of every chart. Industry does nothing but trend chase. They want to be the next Call of Duty Battlezone or Call of Duty Warzone. They want to be the next Fortnite. They want to be the next GTA Online. And what do they do to do that? They push practices that aren't really consumer friendly to the degree. And they have brands and products that aren't easily accessible to make into a games as a service. Look, not every game is going to be able to do the transition like Call of Duty. And even to that degree, they have yearly releases on that game. Not every game is going to be a GTA 5. And I felt like this industry just, they're forcing it on us. People want to talk about how well games as a service doing. Go over all the games as a service that's been shut down. That list is bigger. There's a reason that these companies, how often do we hear about WB that's they're not done investing into games as a service, because a lot of them would rather risk spending $200 million and potentially making $2 billion back in revenue and profits than they would spending $100 million in a game or $75 million in a game and only making minimum returns. I think that's one of the reasons that Phil Spencer all those years ago said that single player experiences wasn't necessarily the front and center anymore, but they're not as popular as they used to be. And he wasn't wrong, because the biggest games in the industry right now, none of them are anything remotely close to Fortnite. None of them are even remotely close to the GTAs. You know, in the single player games, I feel like you're seeing less and less of them, like true single player games. And then you got like Ubisoft trying to like do middle ground. So they're like, you know, we're going to offer you these Assassin's Creed games, and we're kind of going to fluff the experience a little bit. Just a little bit. We're going to either look at you and tell you to do everything in the game has to offer, or spend an absurd amount of time, do every side mission, get as much XP as you possibly can, or you can give us this $10 and we make the experience how we would have did beforehand. Those are things I'm referring to when I say about, you know, predatory types of practices. And, you know, we should be very, very against it. And, you know, I know a lot of people like to blame the consumer, and to a degree I will agree that we need to start standing on our morals. But there's a lot of uneducated people that's not in the gaming industry. Got to keep in mind, the people that watch YouTube videos and the people that make YouTube videos is a small portion of the people that actually play games. There's a lot of them, and it's enough to make a difference, and you've seen that over and over again throughout the industry. But there's very few times that everyone actually really comes together. That's why, even though, you know, the PC community get on my nerves sometimes, you know, I always have to give my hat off to them, because, you know, they come together. They're like, we don't like this. We're going to do everything in our power to show you we don't like this. And I gotta be respectful to that, because the console demographic's not like that. You know, in my opinion, console gaming has gotten to the degree it is because live service is exponentially blown, and all of them are on past gen only. You know, you get a new Call of Duty that's only on next gen. How many consoles do you think is going to sell when GTA 6 comes out? I'm willing to bet you a lot. Like, GTA 6 is about to sell a lot of consoles in general. We got these games that come out on previous gen, and then people wonder why consoles aren't selling. But, you know, they are doing well. And, you know, I don't want people thinking this is like a dog on Xbox. The funny thing is, like, people think I hate Xbox for some reason. No, because I feel like they can do better as a brand, as a hardware manufacturer. It's like, if you want to be a third party, just be a third party. Stop trying to sell me stuff. And to a degree, they don't really do it as much as they used to. But it's just like, console gaming is dying because the industry is killing it. Because, you know, and it's not necessarily everyone's fault. You know, Epic has no horse in the race when it comes to whether or not people are upgrading to the PS5 or the Xbox Series platforms. But, you know, NCAA, when that game came out and it was only current gen and not last gen, I saw a lot of people investing into current gen. Like, an absurd amount of people. People will buy these games if they're giving the purpose to do it. And that's my biggest thing. And even when it comes to exclusives, exclusives used to be heavy hitters, man. The Halos, the Gears of Wars, you know, the Uncharted, the Naughty Dog games in general. You know, I don't really look. I'm not saying exclusives don't hit, but they don't hit as much as they used to. And maybe that's just because the shadow of the industry has gotten bigger and exclusives don't stand out as much. And that's probably a mixture of everything. But it's just like, that's why I wanted to make this video, where it's just like, look, you know, people say, Addict, you're more and more bitter. I am. Because every time I get on Twitter, this studio is getting shut down. I mean, we just saw BioShock get canceled. You know, it's very few moments of being a content creator where I see something that's generally exciting me. Now, as far as playing the games, I still enjoy that. I love playing games. That's why the majority of the times you see my reviews, it's positive. Because when I play the games, all that other stuff's down the road. Now, obviously, I'll criticize. And, you know, people tell me, Addict, you criticize too much. Look, if I don't like something, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to act like it doesn't exist. I'm going to say it. Sometimes it's extremely negative. Sometimes it's just the nitpicks, you know, little nitpicks. And sometimes, you know, paper cuts, enough of them will catch you to death. Do I think the gaming industry is in, like, the worst spot it's ever been? No. There's definitely been, you know, parts of gaming history that's been just as bad, if not worse, than the one that we're currently in. And good partially at the beginning. I don't even remember anyway. I was too young. But when I say right now, it's just like, I'm worried about the industry in general. I don't think people understand the consequences to all these layoffs and how hard it's going to be to like generate revenue and how hard it's going to be to sell games and to make games. You know, when you have a lot of these people and these extremely talented people in the industry and they're all going to other industries because it's no longer something for them to actually go into, it's concerning. It's like, you know, when you have all these people that go to Netflix or Meta or every other industry that pays more, and it's not even a matter of should they or should they should, because this industry has proven time and time again that they don't really care if you make a good game. They don't really care if you make a profitable game. If your job becomes the what's what I'm looking for? If your job becomes the thing they need to get rid of to make their quarterly bonuses or their just quarterly profits in general, they will do that. And we've seen that time and time again. And I think, you know, maybe I am doom and glooming that portion. You know, I don't know. And I've always been very vocal. I just outside looking in, man. I'm an influencer that covers games that I've been doing it for damn near a decade. So 2014, actually more than a decade. Now, obviously, I started taking the channel more serious a couple years ago. And I'm just someone that just wants good games, man. When I saw when I saw, what's it called? Darksiders 4. I was really, really excited to see that because it's a franchise that I used to love, and I'm appreciated that it's coming back. I just want to see more moments like that. I want to see more moments where I get excited for games anymore. Like, I'm not saying I don't like or appreciate covering games. I do. I love covering games. I love talking about games. But I will say, like, when it comes to like people that say, Addict, why you being doomy? Because the industry's not in a good place, my dude. And it's just like, and it's not in me to be like half glass full. No, if I think it's bad, I'm gonna say it. That's just all I've always been. But anyway, look, I get it. This video might have tussled some feathers, and I understand that. You know, put in the comments section below what you guys feel about the matter. I'm very curious. Look, nothing I say here is backed by any kind of numbers or backed by any kind of insider reports or backed by anything. It's just my opinions on why console gaming in general is not on life support. It's not dying. It's declining. Because these people still make all this money. It's just when it comes to corporate, a lot of money ain't enough. We got to make more money next quarter. So you guys, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm very curious to hear you guys' opinion on that. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It's always appreciated. You can always sub to the channel. We make weekly content on here. We talk about the news. We review games. I got a lot of stuff coming here in the woodworks. I think you guys will enjoy too. But anyway, till next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace. Man, this has been a crazy week. I don't know how this video is going to do. Put in the comment section if you got to the end. I don't know.